I'm excited because this is an interview I've been trying to line up for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about last time.
It's all good.
Life just happens.
Yeah, it does, but everything happens for a reason, so I'm sure there's a good story we're going to get out of this while that happened in between the first interview I want to schedule now.
Yeah, there's been lots of stuff going on.
So those they're watching for the first time or listening for the first time, Taylor, with I Stand On My Pack, helping produce this, our videocast podcast. My cohort today is Kristen, our production manager, just got her from Santa Barbara, and our guest, who's a pretty awesome dude, pretty inspirational guy. I had the pleasure of meeting last year at a fundraiser. Naval diver, ex-naval diver, motivational speaker, inspiration, shark attack survivor, shark attack victim, however you want to put that.
Survivor.
Survivor, right? Yeah, right.
I don't really feel like a victim.
An author too, and pet owner, rescuer, to owner.
Rescue dog owner.
Vegan.
And vegan.
And vegan.
Yep.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Which, most of you do know that I Stand On My Pack is a nonprofit animal rescue, but we have that element of veganism.
We sure do.
So that we're a little proud of that.
Nice, I like it.
little elitist.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Kristen is here today to moderate with me, and we're going to jump right in.
Yes,
Paul.
let's
And
go.
And Otis, who just bounces in and out. How you doing, handsome?
Okay, well, so I like to start with a fact sometimes. So interesting fact is, on average every year, 70 million sharks are killed for shark finning or poaching or caught in nets, compared to 55 to 60 million humans is all, which is kind of weird, right? Like
55 to 60 million humans get caught in nets.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know. We haven't verified that yet.
I mean,
but
how much have they been drinking to follow?
yeah,
through that,
exactly.
Right? So I guess let's start from the beginning. Like, what led you to this moment in your life? What led you to being such an animal activist, such a voice for especially sharks, but animals in general?
I guess, like a lot of people, you get programmed when you're young. And in Australia, it's a very wild country. We had a lot of great characters, even before Steve Irwin. We had Ron and Valerie Taylor. We had a guy called Albie Mangles. Then there's David Attenborough. There was Dr. Suzuki. Steve Irwin came. All of these people. I had this desire to be out in the wild, and I loved animals, even though they kept biting me. I got bitten on the face by a dog when I was like 6 years old and had 18 stitches in my face. But I love dogs. And I've been bitten by snakes. I've been bitten by possums. Got bitten by a shark.
Yeah, but you're Australian, so that kind of
I know. It just kind of comes
like
with
the
the territory.
toughest. Yeah, it's like more poisonous animals. You get bit by them.
Right.
It's like,
And my grandfather was very outdoorsy. He used to take me spearfishing when I was a kid. I was too small to even put my wetsuit on myself or cock the gun. And I don't know, I really loved the outdoors. I loved the wild. I loved the adventure. School, I was doing okay in school up until about 14, 15. And then it just had no interest for me. I just had this desire for adventure. And it was misplaced energy because there wasn't a lot of adventure to be had in the town where I grew up. In Canberra in Australia.
You're from Canberra. I
Yeah.
didn't see. Oh, that's okay. Well, Canberra is not exactly the place you want to go, even though it's the capital.
It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's pretty, but there's just nothing to do there. No. And there was nothing for us to do in my neighbourhood on a Sunday when I was growing up. With starters, we had 3 TV channels. It would be a literal ghost town. There'd be no cars on the road. None of the stores would be open.
Wow.
And this is the capital of Australia as well. So we just made our own fun, and we got into a lot of mischief that later on in life turns into trouble. And the trouble just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I ended up getting kicked out of home at 17 because I was setting a really poor example for my siblings.
Wow.
And I just continued to have this desire for adventure, but it wasn't the right sort of adventure.
Yeah.
And I was almost 21, and I discovered that I was basically going to be dead or in jail if I didn't change my lifestyle. And so I did the only thing that I could work out, which was to leave this environment that I'd become a product of. And I packed everything into this tiny little car that I had no license for. And I drove 12 hours and moved to a new city and started all over again. And that involved working behind a bar in a strip club and becoming a rapper.
Hey!
So as you do, you're starting fresh, you're trying to make some good choices, you work in a strip club and become a rapper.
The
next fun fact about Paul.
Yeah.
What was your rap name?
Paul. It was given to me, I didn't choose it. And we had fun, man. We put out a CDs. We were running nightclubs. I opened up for Snoop Dogg in 1998.
What?
So it was cool. It was fun.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, but not a lot of money in white rappers in Australia in 1998.
No, I can't imagine so. I mean, there was
No,
one,
there
there
was
was specifically one in America. Yeah, that was it.
The financial constraints just destroyed it in the end. The stress got too much for some people.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weed going downrange, and I ended up leaving that and just going back to working in a bar, and I was lost. But this desire for adventure, and you asked me why the love of animals, because I see adventure in not just being in the wild places, but being with the wild things.
Yeah.
And I always read, we had the entire Encyclopedia Britannica at home, pre-internet days, and you actually had to read things out of big books. And I just scanned them for all these weird animals and weird places, and I just had this crazy, my mind works in a way where I visualize things, which was why it was so hard for me in school, and is also so hard for me to have a conversation while I'm driving. I'm trying to visualize where I'm going and at the same time visualize the conversation I'm having, and I always get lost. But after the rapping in the strip club, it was still there, I knew that there was this big, amazing world out there, so many amazing people, but I just didn't know how to be a part of it. I just had this vision of me being stuck in suburbia, just like everyone else, getting a girlfriend, getting engaged, having kids, getting married, whatever order you want those in, and just being like everyone else and being like my parents, and just life. You
did something right, buddy, because you're definitely not like everybody else. That's for sure. That's a compliment. I think. I mean, you're a little bit of a weirdo in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But like how I had a love and a fascination with Australia as a kid growing up because of animals. Not because it was remote, but because of like these exotic animals. You'd like the dodo bird, the duck-billed platypus, the Tasmanian devil, a kangaroo, and you're like all these, a wallaby. You're like all these things that didn't exist in Nebraska.
Yeah, or anywhere.
Or anywhere else. So anyway,
or the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, well.
It was pretty cool to wake up in the morning and there's kangaroos grazing on your front lawn.
That's awesome.
We'd go up to we had this mountain near us, what we classed as a mountain. It's called, really it's a hill. No. But, Australia, wild animals. So we'd go up there and we'd collect all of these. We'd look under rocks, we'd look under logs, we'd pick up these scorpions and these bird-eating spiders and whistling spiders and redbacks and centipedes.
That's really cool.
And we'd take them home and we'd put them in my sister's little plastic baby bath and we'd make them fight.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow.
I told you there was nothing to do, so you start doing crazy things.
The kangaroos fight each other too. They always do the little
the
thing
boxing
to each other.
they lean back on their tail and kick each other.
The funniest thing to watch.
That hurts too. I've been kicked by kangaroos.
I bet it hurts. Look how powerful. I mean,
you don't tease them with food. Oh, man. I like to learn things the hard way.
Okay. Well, anyway, after that,
after that,
then you what? You found your way into.
Had this desire for adventure. Didn't know what to do. I was pretty lost at that time, so I did what we sometimes do when we're a bit lost, and I called Mum and asked for some advice, and she said, well, talk to your brothers. My two younger brothers were in the army at that point, and so I planted the seed, and I thought, could I handle the army? And so I called my brothers, and I asked them what they thought, and they laughed their asses off. They couldn't think of anyone less suited to military lifestyle. There's like, no way. You will never be able to do it. But if you are choosing to do it, don't join infantry, because infantry is really hard. So to stick it up my brothers, I joined infantry.
Nice, good for you.
Yeah, joined in November 2000 at 23, became an airborne paratrooper, an infantry soldier that jumps out of airplanes with a big machine gun and bombs and, hunts people, basically. And I did that for 5 years. Wow. 4 years. And I will be forever grateful to the Army for the things that it taught me, for teaching me how to be a real man, for teaching me that I can be a valuable member of society and allowing me to serve my country. to go and do snipers courses and airborne rappelling out of Black Hawk helicopters with nothing but a plastic helmet and a pair of gloves. No safeties whatsoever, 110 feet in the air, just straight down this rope with packs attached to you and parachuting, all this crazy stuff. And then I got to serve my country and the United Nations as well. On deployment in a little South Pacific island called East Timor. The Indonesians owned half the country and the East Timorese were on the other side, and the Indonesians were literally slaughtering these people for decades. And so we went in there, multinational force went in, we patrolled the border, kept them separated, kept the East Timorese safe, and I got to do my job for real. And it was very cool. I didn't have to go into gunfights, I didn't have to kill anyone, but I got to keep these people safe. The Indonesians were quite scared of us. That a lot of rumors going around that we ate babies and we were assassinating their soldiers and stuff. So we had...
that's fun.
It's quality rumors right there. Like,
we didn't really have to do anything by that stage, just sort of be there. And so after that, I just needed a change. I needed I was sick of running around the bush, being dirty and smelly and sleeping in muddy holes and shitting in a hole, and it was just kind of crappy. I loved it for what I'd learned, but I knew there was more out there. And so I was doing
Did you ever think that more was kind of where you are now? Did you ever anticipate that?
There's nothing in my imagination could have prepared me for the life that I have now. It's so far beyond my expectations that it's just inconceivable.
It's so unique. It's inconceivable. I'm sitting here next to you to think about it in some ways. So I mean, that's pretty awesome.
So you got out and then...
You were still in the military, right?
I changed over to the Navy.
Went through the selection. You became a diver, right?
Became a Navy clearance diver. And the clearance basically means clearing bombs. But we do more than that. We do underwater construction. We do mine countermeasures, so jumping into the ocean, getting rid of mines. We do land-based explosive ordnance disposal. We do reconnaissance swimming, like sneaking into the beaches, like the frogmen, the typical frogmen type stuff. So we train for all of that stuff. And I did that for 5 years, and then I turned up to work one morning in February 2009 and was swimming, pretending to be an attack swimmer. Right in Sydney Harbour. And I was in the water for about 5 minutes and a bull shark attacked me.
And they're pretty aggressive,
How big was the bull shark, by the way?
They said by the jaw mark it was about 2.7 to 3 meters, so about 9 foot.
9 feet. So
bigger than me.
Way bigger than you. Way bigger than you.
Oof. I've
seen that video actually. It's pretty raw.
Something that you can never really imagine is how strong the
shark attack is on film video.
It was being video recorded. It was part of the exercise that we were doing.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So I'm grateful for that too, because I use that in a lot of my motivational, inspirational presentations. I've got all of the surgeries from my shark attack, that almost surgical-like shark bite of my hamstring, my hand with all the tendons hanging out, and then the later surgeries of where they're removing my leg, where the meat, the calf muscle is being filleted and peeled off my lower leg bone. And I show all of these when I do my presentations. And up to date, I think I've had 54 people pass out.
Jesus. 54?
54.
Wow.
Only two
bigger
women.
than my childbirths. No.
52 men.
I believe
it's always men.
because women can push the baby out so they can take it.
They can handle it.
Women can handle that.
Plus, they're not too proud to look away, whereas men are like, I'm a big tough man. I can look at some blood and guts.
So before this had happened, I mean, obviously as a diver and being from Australia, you're not a stranger to sharks. You understand that being from where you're from and being in the water all the time.
I understood
how did your perspective change?
But I'd never seen a dangerous shark before. I didn't want to. I was terrified of sharks. When I was in the Navy, my shark education was zero. And I thought that if we killed them all, then we'd just be safe. So why don't we just fish them all out? That was my ignorance to the whole situation. And I think that's why the education that people like you guys and people like myself and Sea Shepherd and my friend Madison Stewart and all my buddies that I work with, that's why the message is so important. Because if I was in a place like Australia, working in water all of the time and still didn't know the importance of sharks, then how many millions of people out there still don't know?
It's very ignorant to it. Very, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, about the shark finning and the shark catching and all of that. Why is that happening still? Like, why are people still killing sharks by the millions around the world?
Because of the Asian demand. There's something about that Asian market where they just will absorb everything. They'll just consume everything in their path. And if they can't get it, they'll get it from somewhere else and ship it in. It's this status symbol that they're all obsessed with.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
But is it legal? Like, is it actually legal to sell in Asia?
Certain countries, shark fins, shark fins are legal. They're legal to transport. Actually, United and FedEx still, two American companies that allow you legally to transport shark fin when they go through customs.
Yeah,
like Delta America doesn't let you, DHL doesn't let you, but those two companies actually.
I think it was Singapore Airlines had agreed to stop shipping them, and they were just discovered with a shipment on board.
Yeah, stalker there.
Yeah.
So there's no real like pushback from it then. It's not because they don't see it like as the education just not getting out there, people just thinking like it's not a problem.
They're working harder towards it, and that's evidenced by the people in the street, the conservationists in these Asian countries petitioning and doing demonstrations trying to stop the shark fin market and the rare animals market as well. But the people with the money, they don't care.
Yeah.
You know, there's two people that are the problem. There's the people that are ignorant, and there's the people that don't care. And the problem is you just can't change these people. Fortunately, they're dying out. We've got a younger generation that know more, they're more knowledgeable about the situation. They realise that this older generation are destroying their planet and they want change. So the best thing that we can do is try and continue preaching this message to the younger generation so that as they come up and they become part of the government, they can make the changes and implement the laws that the planet needs.
Yeah.
Because we need sharks. I mean,
we definitely need sharks.
They're part of the ocean ecosystem. Like we need them.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of money involved as well. You know, the Spanish fleets, the Indonesian fleets, Vietnam's consuming it, China's consuming it, Japan's consuming it.
Yeah, it's never going to go away.
Even Australia, even the US,
to cull it
we're still doing importing and exporting shark fins. Right? Until it stops, we're just going to keep destroying the planet.
And it's a very vile procedure where they just cut the fin off and then they throw the actual shark back in the ocean.
Well, that
can't swim anymore or feed itself.
They discard it. Yeah, depends.
Like
a lot of times they discard it.
Drown to death.
At least implementation has come in some places where you have to land the whole body or you have to land part of the whole body, which has stopped these boats coming in with nothing but thousands upon thousands of shark fins stacked up in their boat.
Well, it's like you take a caudal fin, you take a dorsal fin, you take a pectoral fin, you just take it, and then you just dump the body of the shark. It's, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's beyond cruel, first of all. But
there's no money in it, though, and money rules all.
What about the actual toxicity of the meat itself? Because like with the dolphin meat, how, hunting dolphins, and we've learned over time, obviously, that it's very toxic. So what about sharks? Because they eat fish that have high mercury levels and whatnot. So
I can't remember the exact term for it. I was reading about trying to expand my knowledge myself all the time. So I was reading about this. I can't remember that exact term, but it works in a way that the smaller fish eaten by the bigger fish, eaten by the bigger fish, eaten by the bigger fish, eaten by the sharks, that mercury and that arsenic and all of those heavy metal toxins conglomerate into these bigger fish. And even the supermarkets in Australia, even the shopping centres around the world, the fish stores, are selling these sharks not knowing how much is in them. And even when they are guaranteed that they don't have these heavy metals and poisons in them, they still do. We've got supermarkets in Australia where Madison Stewart went down there and collected these samples and did the toxicity reports, and they were far over the legal limits, and people will still sell them. They'll hide it as something else. They'll disguise mako and sell it as swordfish.
Yeah, and you can technically eat thresher shark and mako shark without the risk of poison like other shark because they have urinary tracts, so they actually secrete a lot of things out versus other ones that's kept in their body. But they're predator fish, so they're going to eat other fish. So there's always going to be a level of it, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, bycatch, it's like they pretend they dress it up like it's something else and they sell it as fish taco, and it's I mean, it should be just like a mercury taco.
But we have the regulations on dolphins. I don't understand why they're.
I mean, regulations and like actually listening to or obeying the law, I think, are two different things, unfortunately. But
look, to be honest, the only thing people undervalue the small things that they can do that mean the most. And people contact me all the time. They ask me all the time, "What can I do to help the oceans?" The best thing you can do is the smallest thing consistently, which is stop eating fish.
well, he answered
You heard
the
it.
question.
You
I don't have
heard-
to ask
yeah,
this now.
that's-
What do we need to do?
Stop
Paul?
eating fish.
There you go. Just stop eating fish.
You don't need it. You know why people eat it? Because they like the taste.
Of course.
Or they think that you need it because you need
That's
the
why people eat
omega-3s. You don't need the omega-3s from fish. The fat in fish becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes almost carcinogenic about 45 minutes after it's killed. It congeals. It's terrible for you.
Well, the way fish are caught, the way they're caught, most of the time they have nitrogen blood rushed into their body.
pulled up from blood.
Kills, and it kills the meat and poisons the meat, and then most of the time. I mean, that's why obviously certain massive Japanese trawlers, when they catch tuna and they shock them, it's a little different. But for the most part, the fish you get shouldn't be eating it by any means.
And most of it is, shipped and then reshipped and then
Or even worse, farmed
frozen,
and-
put it,
And how
Latin with
many
tons of chemicals.
How many endangered animals or how many non-target species were killed just so you can have that fish? I've got a friend of mine out of Rhode Island who's doing an expose on Instagram at the moment, and he used to be a commercial fisherman, and he has all of these photos from when he was working on the commercial fishing boats, things like a whole huge net of butterfish and one great white shark head sticking out of it.
Wow.
And maybe a couple of squid. You know what the target fish was? Squid.
Squid.
So all of those animals died so you could have some squid. So people think maybe, I'll just have some calamari. You don't know the damage has been done because of that catch. So many hundreds and thousands of fish are killed just so you can have that. And then they're ground up and put into dog food to poison your dog.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not good at all. The best thing you can do is just stop eating fish. If there's no demand, then they can't sell it. Then they won't be able to catch it.
Yeah. I mean, that was...
and
It's like the easiest,
It's not the easiest though, because for someone who gave up meat a long time ago, it's like giving up fish was like the most difficult thing, and I still eat it. Sometimes I find myself wanting fish and craving fish, and it's like I haven't craved meat in I don't know how long, like land animal, right? But it's like, and I love the ocean, and I feel guilty sometimes even thinking about it. But
then you hear all these things.
Yeah, and I'm...
And how can you look at yourself, and be like, well, I don't know why I'm sick, and I don't know why these things happen. It's like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I usually put a mask
no one thinks
on,
about that stuff. That's where the ignorance part comes in.
But there's people that do it on such a disgusting level too. Like you
There's
said,
people that
they
smoke. There's people that drink in excess. Geez, I had too many tequilas on the weekend. We're almost programmed to destroy ourselves.
That's right.
Some people don't care. Some people can't change. Some people don't know how. But and I'm not going to judge anyone because I ate meat for 40 years.
Yeah.
I used to spearfish and kill stingrays and ate all the fish and all the lobsters and all the cows and all the chickens because I had this idea in my head later in life that if I didn't eat them, I couldn't have muscles and I'd get all skinny and I'd be one of those
love that
stereotypical...
Yeah, and for those who are listening and not watching this, Paul definitely has muscles. So
another vegan who's ripped.
I want to change gears here a little quick. So you also still are very involved in the community, the shark community, and you dive still, obviously, a lot. I mean, that's one of the things you do. And you recently, you were filming, you were diving somewhere, or what were you doing?
The last month I spent in the Bahamas was shooting back-to-back shows
for Shark Week.
Yep. So when's this coming out?
Way
Can
cool.
I talk about it now?
You could talk about Shark Week, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. But when is this coming out? Because Shark Week's not until the end of July.
This will be out before
Shark Week?
Before your stuff.
All right. So I can't talk about everything, but
no.
I can give you an
you can give a taste though.
Yeah. So the first show we shot was about surviving in the ocean. 480 boats go down in American waters per year, and a lot of those people drown. A lot of those people disappear. People blame sharks. So myself and a British Special Forces guy went out on a boat off the coast of the Bahamas into the Atlantic Ocean, blew up our boat, And we drifted through the ocean for 2 days and 2 nights with no food or no water.
Oh my God.
While the crew were chumming the
deal.
waters around us.
You're shitting me.
Yeah.
Just for a little added excitement.
Well, it was maybe we had come back from spearfishing and we had a fuel leak, our boat blew up, we had bait and fish that we'd caught on the boat, so maybe that was leaking over the side. So, crapping and pissing in the water, especially crapping. The crapping made the sharks go crazy.
I'm sure.
Not from us, we weren't crapping because we had full wetsuits on, but some of the surrounding staff around us that were using cameras and things like that, they were reporting that the sharks liked the poop.
Wow.
In the Bahamas, it's a lot of
Another reason why you
oceanic
shouldn't
tips,
eat them.
A lot of
hammerheads,
oceanic white tips. That was pretty much all we saw because we weren't in the coastal area. We were in the deep blue. It was 2,000 feet deep where we were. So it was kind of freaky. Just during the night, we had a pen we could get into if it got too crazy. And thank God we did, because I was in the pen one night. We'd strung some rope up across the top so we could sleep part of our bodies out of the water because it was freezing.
It's nighttime.
And I wake up to this boom, boom. I stir and I look over and this fin comes up right next to my head. And I'm like, I'm not leaning up against that pole anymore. So I moved over
it
here.
was just chain link to keep you guys in, that's it, right?
It was just like a fishing
like
net
a
around us with a bit of a frame.
Wow.
But we wanted to show people what they should pack if they're on a boat. For safety's sake, if you've got a mask, probably the most valuable thing that I had on that trip was the mask and snorkel. So
you can see.
Safety, if you're going on a boat, make a go bag, put a wetsuit in it, put a mask and snorkel in it, put some power bars in it, keep some water.
Satellite phone. No,
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's a bare minimum, that's what you want. Food, water, wetsuit, and mask and snorkel. Because without that mask and snorkel, I wouldn't have been able to see the sharks coming. I didn't have any weapons whatsoever. I used my hand and my weightlifting arm that I had, and I was just palming these sharks off everywhere. They were all around us. And as soon as that food got in the water, they switched and went super aggressive. To start with, they were curious.
That's what they do.
Yeah, they're like the oceanic
They don't
white
have
tips are
hands.
called the wolves of the sea.
Right?
They're just like pack predators.
Wow.
So that was really crazy.
Well, I'm excited to watch this later this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See
and
when
then the
that comes
second
out.
one we did, I can't really talk. Oh, I can talk about it because
You can give us a taste,
Well,
but-
it's already been released. It got released last Wednesday.
Oh.
It sounds a little gimmicky, but I'll explain to you why it's not, and you'll get it. We took Ronda Rousey, the UFC fighter who now is in the WWE, and we took her to Fiji, and we got her in the water with the bull sharks, like really right up close. And
Are there a lot of bulls in Fiji?
Yeah.
It's warm water, so...
So that's where I learned to hand feed bull sharks in Fiji. So we took her there for that.
Whoa.
We took her. She'd never dived in her life, mind you. So we took her. We put her through her diving course. Then we gave her some instructions on how to dive in the dark, in caves, just tying knots. Keeping that mind while you're underwater, because the rule of 3 when you're in the water. Everything becomes 3 times harder. Oh. So we took her down to the bottom. She had to tie knots and things like that. Introduced her to the bull sharks, and then took her to New Zealand and had her swimming in the open ocean with blue sharks and makos.
Wow.
So this...
Beautiful sharks, blue sharks.
Yeah, and it sounds a little gimmicky. When I was reading through it, I'm like, why are we doing this? Why would we just take some famous person? Like, it's dumb.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. This woman has such a huge following.
Yeah.
So if we can take this person and teach her the beauty of sharks, the beauty of diving, the beauty of ocean conservation, all of her fans will come and they'll watch it.
Them.
Yeah.
She can affect them as well. And a lot of people will rag on Shark Week about how it's been in the past. Even people inside the conservation industry. But you can't change it from the outside. So at least if I'm in Shark Week, they can't filter out my message. They can't tell me what I have to say. So I can be involved in Shark Week, which I think is great. It's come a really long way. It's so
I think it's
science-based.
fantastic, by the way.
There is so much money thrown into Shark Week for science.
Kudos to the Discovery Channel for what they've done with that.
Yeah. So both those shows are going to be amazing. We did another one last year.
That's pretty awesome, dude.
It was cool. It was
Very cool.
kind of terrifying at some times as well.
All right, well, we're gonna sort of wrap this up, but I want to. So a couple more things. So obviously, Paul de Gelder, I mean, you're very unique. You're a unique individual for a lot of reasons, right? What you do. We didn't get to touch on the motivational speaking, but also you have a book. I mean, which,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would suggest, yeah, right? I would suggest,
what?
first of all, go to his website, pauldegelder.com. And
PaulDegelder.com.
Or just come to the Instagram.
Or Instagram,
Oh,
social
yeah.
media, of course.
Yes.
Or because of this interview, you can go to I Stand On My Pack
Yep.
website, and we will have a link to direct you to Paul's as well.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Paul's the type of person that makes me, and I do a lot, want to do more, or it makes me think I'm not doing enough in the world.
But then vice versa. I'm like, I could be doing a little more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's so much of this I'm like kind of jealous about. You know, I don't know about. I'm obviously not everything, but
Well, at the same time, I'm fine. I love living in America.
yeah. Oh yeah, welcome by the way.
Thanks,
So,
man.
yeah.
It's been a year and a half now. Well, actually 6 months full time out here. And I think my contract's going to get renewed, so I'm going to get to stay for a couple
Awesome.
more years.
Sweet.
Which
Well,
is
if not, we could probably
amazing.
put you to work with Sea Shepherds.
Oh, yeah,
somehow,
for
and,
sure.
They could definitely.
Still got to pay the bills though, you know. They don't pay too many people. But while I'm out here, I'm venturing out into other things, trying to create a static income.
Yeah.
So that I can follow my passions in conservation and do the work that I feel like I need to do.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm moved by what you want to do and what you're doing.
Oh man,
Because
I
I'm very-
appreciate
it's-
everything you guys do as well. Like without people
Thank
like you, then I'm just standing here alone.
Yeah.
Well, one last question. I'd like you to tell our audience, where do you see the future for these species, these sharks around the world? Like, where do you see it headed?
Sadly, unless the current fishing practices change, they're going to be gone. Scientists predict that by 2048, the ocean will be out of saltwater fish.
Yeah.
So unless things change,
That's,
the ocean is gonna
That is
die.
like, that's in our lifetime.
Terrifying to think
That
about.
is like in
it's very
our
sobering,
lifetime.
isn't it? But it's unmaintainable. We are taking the fish out of the ocean at such an incredible rate. Get onto the internet, get onto YouTube, Google commercial fishing, look at the photos, look at the amount of fish that they are pulling out of the water and the means that they use by doing it. Dragging these 6 football field nets along the
And
bottom of the
everything.
ocean, destroying everything in its path, all the coral reefs, taking all the fish. We can't maintain that. We're going to destroy it.
He just saved me the end of the tag. Like, 'cause each episode we do a call to action. And that depends on who our guest is. Paul just gave you your call to action, so do it.
Stop
Educate
eating
yourself.
fish, or if
Yes.
you feel like you can't do that, minimize it as much as you can. Minimize eating animal products as much as you can, because it's not just the commercial fishing, it's the pollution from animal agriculture.
Yes.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, it was a joy to have you on the show. Really,
Thanks for having
it really
me.
was.
I
was
like that
excited
thing,
about
though.
it.
That's
Yeah, that's good. Huh?
Makes you look so badass.
So yeah, follow us. Check in with us on social media, on our website. We have our event. We always like to remind everybody our Rise Against Extinction event, where we incorporate marine life this year as well. If you have any questions,
Yes.
feel free to reach out to us, Kristen or Taylor.
Thanks for joining us.
At iswmp.org, and yeah, we look forward
See you
to
next
our
time.
next one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Paul.
buddy.